Nice call. For those who don't know, I am Sarah Knolenberg. I'm under Bethany, who is on a wonderful trip with her husband right now. If anyone's watching Bethany's story, let that be motivation to build your business because they're on the most amazing resort, just the two of them. And I know it's possible because part of it's possible because of Plexus. So, um, but super excited. I asked my friend Jessica if she'd be willing to come on tonight to share her story because Jessica has a really amazing story where she's been with Plexus 8 years. Correct, Jessica, 8 years. And she just went Emerald in November, and we've gotten a chance to get to know each other. I was working to reclaim Emerald the month that she was going Emerald, and so we were like going back and forth, encouraging each other. And but she's just been growing a really solid team. And when I heard her story too, but she's ranked up about every year and a half, has ranked up in her business. And so just that, sometimes we hear these stories of someone, ranking up like yesterday, and you're like, oh my gosh, you're like that, I can't do that. But you're like, okay, Jessica has been faithful in working her business. And just for you to hear from someone who has faithfully worked her business and to see all the growth that has happened. And then we were chatting a little bit about business builders. I'm like, Jessica, will you please come and just share your story? Share, why you got started Plexus, how you went Emerald, and then some of the shifts that you've made recently with focusing on the business and how you're seeing fruit from that. And, just give us your wisdom. We want to hear from you. So, without further ado, Jessica, you want to tell us a little about yourself and then your story and any of your tips? We are open ears.
Okay. Well, I laughed when Sarah asked me to share, but I mean, I get it. Like I said, I've been in this 8 years and I've always wanted to hear all the stories. Sometimes stories are hard because it brings in a lot of comparison. But that's part of my story. So, just a little bit about me. I am a 42-year-old mom, wife. My husband and I've been together 17 years, about 22 total, but 17 married. We have 4 kids and 3 boys and 1 girl, and our oldest is about to be 16 in a month. And then we have a 14-year-old, an 8-year-old, and a 4-year-old. So they're very spread out, but we're very busy. My husband owns his own business, and he commutes to work every day, 45 minutes there and 45 minutes back. So I'm a very busy mom. I am staying home. This is my job. Plexus is my job now, thankfully. But from like 2:30 on, I'm in the car, just kind of like everybody was saying, like going to events and sports and tumbling and all the things. So, but yeah, that's a little bit about me. And I did write some notes just so I could stay on track. But and if y'all have any questions, just feel free to ask. I am an open book with everything. I will say over 8 years, I have changed strategies and systems 1,000 times, and that's okay. But I got started in 2016. Really, I had just had my 3rd child, and I got started a little different than I feel like a lot of people get started these days. The only reason I got started is because my best friend told me I should start the products, and I didn't even know what a supplement was at the time. And I feel like that's different from what we have going on these days is because of social media. We have people that come to us for a specific situation, or they need more money, or they have a health issue. My story is a little different in the fact that I just started because she told me to, and I jumped in with 2 feet. And I was like, I'll just trust you with this and I'll just do this. So I'm not going to go into my health story, but I'll give you a little tidbit just because it is a little bit loaded. In case you ever need anybody's testimony for somebody. From the age of 8, I dealt with IBS, chronic migraines. I would have 18 a month. Acid reflux, anemia. I would have iron infusions 3 times a year. I called myself a light sleeper. I had a horrible mood, horrible cramps. And after starting Plexus, like I said, I wasn't looking to fix any of these things. But my timeline of how those things changed, I also like to talk about because I feel like that's important. It took, 3 weeks and I started not wanting Diet Cokes. It took 3 months. I hate when it does that little thumbs up thing. It took 3 months, and in 3 months, my anemia was completely gone. I had no more reflux. In 6 months, my IBS was completely gone. In 9 to 12 months, my migraines had gone from 18 a month to 9 a month. And then at 18 months on the products, I was down to 2 migraines a month. And that was at the beginning. And so, but that's a timeline, because I always like to say, these products don't work overnight. But all that said, 8 years later, I still have relief from all of those things. And I'm still doing exactly what I did when I started, and I've added stuff in. But with that, I started sharing very timidly. Like 8 years ago, it was one of those, we had really awful graphics that we would post. There wasn't all this, there weren't all these great social media trainings and tips on how to post and tips on how to reach out. It was really ugly, I'll be honest. And it felt tacky. And so I was really nervous, and I'm going to tell this part of my story because I feel like this can apply to some people too. I also was very timid on sharing about the business in the beginning, mainly because my husband has a really good job and he was the breadwinner of our family. And I did not want to take away from him, and I hear people say that sometimes, that, sharing about the business, I don't want to share because my husband actually, I don't want to give a false information. But what I realized after 2 months into this, to sharing, my first paycheck was $400. And I had been in a previous multi-level marketing company. I was sharing essential oils because
What?
I loved them, and I just wanted some, just to
Hopefully
share and
everything's
try to
off the
find
closet right now,
a
but
way to cover those. And I did that for 5 years, and my biggest paycheck was $400. 5 years at this one company, and my first month was Plexus. My check was $400. And so I thought, that there's really something to this, and that amount covers these products. Before I had my daughter, I was a teacher for 6 years, and then I became a preschool director. And I got pregnant with my third child, and my husband was like, let's just see how it goes. We'll just stay home for a year, and see if it makes sense for you to stay home. And that was when Plexus came into my life. She was 2 weeks old, and within 6 months, I had replaced my income that I was making as a preschool director. And so it was a no-brainer. But I think part of my story is that I went very slow. And that is not always something that people, you look at, and, a lot of people don't do that right now. They either don't move or they move super fast. And I think from the beginning, I was scared to add anybody that was a brand ambassador. Back then we had PCs, which is a preferred customer. It was either retail, preferred customer, or a brand ambassador. And I was terrified to add a brand ambassador. Don't know why, but I built up my customer base. I actually looked back at, because I was curious, because I told Sarah, I was like, I remember it being like a year and a half between ranks or whatever. And I went back and looked. So I started in July of 2016. I went silver in February of 2017. So it took a while for me to get just three. Still then it was 3 ambassadors. 5 months later, I went gold in July of 2017. And then 3 months later, I went senior gold. Now, I went senior gold because I found 8 awesome women who wanted to share with me. And it was a team. I thought we were going far. And I hit senior gold, and they all dropped off, every single one of them. And, they were all really good at the business. They all still wanted to take the products, but just things were happening in their lives. And I know that at some point in your business, you will run into that. And that is incredibly hard, whether it's one person or 8 people like I had. It's hard. And it's scary, but I'll be very honest with you. My paycheck did not change. And it's because I had built a customer base and had customer service with an retention. even though I had people working on 8 different legs, I always recruited. Like every month, I would recruit as many people as I could with the products just to keep those outside legs there. And because I wanted to make sure that if I hit a rank, I retained the rank. I also wanted to retain my customers, and I knew that was the only way to do that. So my customer service from the beginning was very intense. And I duplicated that down. And because I duplicated that down, when those 8 runners dropped off, I was able to dip down into their customer base also because they already knew who I was. And so I kind of had a freak out moment, but you know what? It was one of those things where I hit senior gold. How was I going to get to Ruby? And I knew that if I started looking at my left or my right, that I would lose focus. And so I just started putting my blinders on and I looked straight ahead and I just kept doing what I was doing. And so that happened in October of 2017. I did not go Ruby until June of 2020. And I ended up, the way I got to Ruby was I found one friend who she wanted the products, started talking to her. She was loving the products. And I just asked her if she would share. And she was like, absolutely not. I was like, you should share. And she did. And we locked arms. And I went from Ruby to 957 points with just being her. And, you know, that is something that is not often heard of, but because it, you know, basically I got almost very close to Emerald with just one runner. But it was because I did have such good customer retention and I have all those outside leg points. But I went, so I went Ruby, then I went senior Ruby, and I was trying to figure out how on earth am I going to go Emerald. And I'm telling you this because each rank for me it felt like a roadblock, because I know when you hit a rank and you're just like, oh my gosh, well, how am I going to get to the next rank now? And you start getting in your head, and then you start posting and you keep posting and nobody's coming. And what I have found over the last 8 years is that when you are consistent and you show up for your people that want to work the business, whether they're all in or whether they just want to share their referral link for the first time, if you are consistent with your business and your people and your products and your posting, showing up for everyone, it happens. And it may come at different times, but it usually comes. Sometimes I would take a step back and be like, why is nobody reaching out? Like, not even about the products. And then I take a look back and I'm like, well, I haven't posted in a week. I haven't posted, I've only posted this one picture at Christmas, and now it's like the middle of January. Why am I, they're not showing up because I'm not showing up. And a lot of times we can get in our heads and kind of put these roadblocks up about us about others, when it's really more about putting our focus on ourselves, to put our focus on our people. So one thing I also want to say is it does not matter how hard you try. If you are doing all the things for your people and they quit, there's nothing you've done wrong. I have probably 4 or 5 people that I know if they were still doing this with me, we would be a huge diamond team because they were awesome and they're still awesome. But you cannot waste your time dragging people to do this with you, because you lose sight and you lose focus on the people that are there that want to do it, that want it. You may not always see that they can take it and run with it, but if you pour into them, it will happen, especially if they want it. Okay, let's see what else. I think one of the biggest things was for me in August of 2022 was I just had to, like I said, I had to get in momentum and put blinders on. I had 2 awesome uplines who kind of took a step off, they took some time off, and I had a big woe is me kind of thing. You're like, oh, here I am adding 3 people and nobody's shouting me out, or here I am posting and nobody's seeing that. And I didn't need that. That was another thing of me getting in my head. So if you are posting and if you are showing up for your customers, for your team, for anybody that even asks you questions, like, do not stop talking to them. Do not let someone show up and start these products and get them going for 3 months and then drop them, because they will fall off. I truly believe that the reason we are such a strong team, and right now we're in huge momentum, is because of our customer retention. You really need to talk to them. Like, I really hold their hand that first month and a half to 2 months. And then I've got customers that have been with me for 8 years. I still talk to them, every single one of them, once a month at least, if not more. And so when it comes to, a product or a special and I reach out to them, it's not, oh, she just want me to buy something. They know that I still reach out to them every single month, no matter what. And then so I hit Emerald in November. And the reason I hit Emerald in November is because of one person, I feel like, that I found. And, we had been sitting kind of very like teetering all, close to 1,000 points as a team. And I had a friend who started the products years ago, and she was kind of off, kind of on. And I knew she would be awesome at this business. But she was a boutique owner, and she had an online business that she ran out of her house. She had 5 kids. And I was like, there's no way she'll ever say yes to this. So I was terrified. So for 4 years, I never said a word to her about the business. And she started talking to me more about the products. This was like last June and July. And then she just started talking about how, well, I'm buying all this now and my kids want it. I want to put my kids on it, but I don't know how do you afford this? And I was like, well, that's why I started sharing, and I started talking about sharing, and she was like, oh, I don't think I'd ever do that. And so I just started praying and really putting my focus on my people and praying intentionally for every one of my customers. Every time an order would go through, I would pray for that order and thank God for that order. And I'd earned leaders retreat on the cruise, and I didn't have anybody to go with me. And in the middle of the night, one night, like, I heard the Holy Spirit say, you need to ask April. And I was like, April, like the girl that's just loving her products, And so I reached out to her the next day, and I just said, I know this is crazy. We've never gone to lunch. I know we've never gone to dinner. We just have, friendship through our kids, but I just earned this cruise. Would you want to go with me? And she was like, yeah. So she came on the cruise, and I knew that if she had a taste of the business, she would fall in love with the business. And within 24 hours, she was trying to figure out how she could get service to sign people up. And that was the beginning. So if you don't know when Leaders Cruise was, it was the beginning of November. In October, I looked at Julia and I said, Julia, in November, I'm going Emerald. I'm going to do this. I don't know what it's going to take, but I'm going to go Emerald. And that's another thing. You have to set goals and believe that you can hit those goals. If you believe you can hit those goals, you will find a way to hit those goals. Because sometimes we like to say we want to do something, but then we're like, well, can I really do that this month? Or we've got this going on. I don't know. I mean, that's not going all in on your goals. And so we got back from the cruise and our team just took off. And at the end of that month, I hit Emerald. In November, I hit Emerald, and April had doubled ranked. And in December, we were like, okay, we've got all these customers. Here we are. We love our customers. We know how to love our customers well. So it was Melissa Deaton, April Evans, and myself. It was just the 3 of us. So it was me, and I had 2 legs, and that was it. And we shifted our focus completely to business runners. We wanted to try to hit people who wanted the business, and that was very much out of all of our comfort zone. And so we just started posting about the business. like posting that, the little flyer, like this month, I think it's the one with all the, like, if you refer this many and you get the walking pad. And y'all, people just started coming out of the woodworks. I wrote down because I was really curious. I hadn't even looked, but so we started that in December. Since January, we've added 15 brand ambassadors who are actively working the business solely because of being bold and talking about the business. And I even had I had two girls come to me last week who have been on the products with me for 6 years. I've dabbled and dripped the business to them. And I was terrified to ask them to like actually come do it. It was one of those like, you can get your products paid for if you just add a couple friends. And they both reached out to me 2 weeks ago and said, I want to work this business with you. And so I asked them, I said, I'll be honest, I was terrified to ask you, what made you want to work this business? And both of them said, you were posting about the business. I saw so-and-so post about the business. And when they were posting about the business, I realized like, if they can do it, I can do it. And sometimes we get in our heads thinking like, if we post too much about the business, people might think it's saturated. But that really only gives opportunity to other people who really, really need it. And as far as like business builders, you really got to look for people that are busy. I have realized that like the people that are busy, they are the ones who find the time to do the things they want to do. Sometimes people that are just sitting there that don't have a lot going on, it's really hard for them to get motivated and work things into a schedule. So anyway, I'm talking way longer than you wanted me to, Sarah, but I want you to know it's possible. Like I went Emerald in 8 years, 7.5 years. I've got Melissa Deaton who is under me, and she started a year after me, and she is almost at Emerald right now. So 7 years for her because we both went very slow. However, April started in November, and last month she hit Fast Start Ruby. But she's done it the right way. She's retained her customers. She's intentionally reaching out to people. She's getting business builders, and we are in momentum. So
That is such an amazing story. There were so many details I did not know about your story, Jessica. That was so good. Thank you for sharing that. I have so many takeaways. I think, well, if anyone has any questions, but I guess one question that I have was just when you made this shift from in December about starting to post about the business and starting to have more business conversations, what were some things that you were like, when you said it was like out of your comfort zone, like how did you like get yourself there? Like how did that, like, was there things you told yourself in your mind that you focused on, or trainings or like a book or something that just like really helped you with feeling confident in sharing about the business, or just even like your past experiences?
honestly, I had to move myself out of the way because, and when I tell people, when I'll have my people on my team say like, how do I say this? I'm like, don't overthink it. Just do it. Because if you start to try to make it perfect, you're never going to do it because it's never going to be perfect. But you know what? It might not be perfect for, this group of 50 people over here, but it might be perfect for that one person over there. And I really think that was it. I mean, because sometimes I post the refer three graphic. Sometimes I just put, something like I put a post up the other day about we're looking for a car for my son. And I'm so thankful that I have the lifestyle bonus that you earn when you get hit Emerald. Like, how awesome is that? At perfect timing. So it's just coming up with ways that you fit Plexus into your life that someone else can relate to and feel like, oh, well, if they can do it, I can do it.
I love that. Who else has a question?
I don't have a question, but I just want you to know how much I know. I don't know if you're following along in the chat. I can't follow along in chats while I'm speaking because I'm such a squirrel that I just can't do it. But I know if everybody could unmute right now and we had time for that, like you inspired so many people tonight. because we always hear, right, like, oh, so and so they just hit emerald in 14 months or 8 months or 6 months, and then it's like, oh, but I've been here and I'm doing the things, and then the comparison game starts. And you coming on here tonight, I know, changed lives, because people see themselves in you so much more than any of those other testimonies and stories. So I love that so much, and I'm so thankful that you were able to take the time to come on. Angie just asked this has been my favorite Zoom I've ever been in.
Aw, y'all are
Like,
so sweet. Thank
huge,
you for
huge,
saying
huge.
that, Brian.
Yeah.
You know, if any of you want to message me, I'm happy. I'm an open book. And again, I've said I've had 1,000 systems over the years, and even people, my runners, they have a different system than I do. And I'm happy to share with you any part of my health testimony, any questions you have. We are totally not perfect. But also that is why I love this business so much, because it's all about relationships. And I mean, I met Sarah on social media because, you know, we connected, and then we met at some different events, and having and finding a sideline partner is really helpful if you are looking to grow, because it helps you keep your blinders on, you know, your head forward. I mean, I have so many that, you know, were not even on my team. Like, what they do doesn't affect me, and what I do doesn't affect me. But like when I was going Emerald, like Sarah, Aaron Osborne, so many different people just texting like, where are your points now? How are you doing? You know, it really does help. And this is a community where you will be, you know, blessed, loved on, and encouraged. And you can't really find that in many other businesses. But thank y'all for having me.
All right, y'all. Bree, is there anything else that y'all usually add on or talk about for the week or anything?
No, we'll do that in our group chats. I don't want to take away from anything, because everybody is like, woohoo. Here's the thing, y'all, and I want to challenge you with this. So the big thing that a lot of you are posting about in the chat now too is that switch, right? If you only ever post about products, you will only ever have a product team. And if you want, and product, I want y'all, I love that Jess said this too, that products and customers are a huge piece of our business, right? And sometimes we end up thinking, and Keith Callahan talked about this a ton in the last couple of weeks with me, is sometimes when we want to start growing our business, we're like, oh, we don't want customers. We just want to post about the business, and we just want to move our shift there. We can't do that, right? 80% of our paychecks come from really happy people loving our products. And so we have to have our focus there. But those happy people end up being our business builders. And so I love that she said that, like, you can maintain a really strong business base just with happy customers and those people. But if you want to not just maintain, if you want to grow, you've got to start the duplication piece, and you have to have business builders doing the same thing that you're doing. And so if you've got happy customers and you've brought those people in, now your next step, exactly like she said, is finding your 2 to 3 people. That's all you need in this business, is 2 to 3 people that are running with you. And what you have to find your 2 to 3 people is your 10 in play, right? You guys have heard me talk about this a ton lately, but you need to find your people that you can really pour into. So all this to say, this week, what I want you to focus in on: send more business messages. Start posting more about the business, because that's what's going to bring people in. It's not forgetting about the products. It's not that we stop doing our customer care. It's not that we stop sharing about the products. But if you want to start duplicating and growing and get off the hamster wheel of spinning at the same rank that you're at, you have to find people that are doing it with you and that you're teaching to do the same things that you're doing. So this week, don't forget about your customers, but as you do this, drop it in our group chats. Find your 2 to 3 people, and when you send a business message, drop it in the chat, because that's the extra accountability. And just like she said, remove yourself from the situation. it's not about you anymore, y'all. It really is not. We know what we have. That's why we're here. But there are so many people right now that are looking for more, and we get to give that to them. But if we're not posting about it, they don't know, because they still think that network marketing is a whole closet full of products and making 25 cents to go to the next party, right? Like, we've got to show up and teach people differently. All right. Thank you so much for organizing this all, Sarah. Jess, thank you for hopping on and sharing your time with us. This was so valuable for all of us. So thank you. All right. Good night, everybody.